I breathe a dust made of forgotten years. It is a fine, gray powder that coats my entire being, a second skin grown over the one of polished wood and lacquer. It has filled the grooves between my teeth, silencing a smile I no longer remember how to give. My voice is trapped beneath a heavy, unmoving lid, a coffin for a language I once spoke fluently. The air I exist in is thick, heavy with the ghosts of resonance. It does not move. Time here is not a river. It is a stagnant pool, and I am a stone at its bottom. A single blade of afternoon light cuts through the gloom of the drawn curtains. It is a lonely traveler, making its slow, deliberate journey across the worn floorboards, illuminating a universe of dancing dust motes. It climbs the leg of a chair, touches the corner of a framed photograph, turned to face the wall, and then, for a few precious moments, it finds me. It warms a small patch of my surface, a phantom touch that almost feels like a memory of a hand. The light catches the muted brass of my pedals, a dull gleam in the oppressive dark. This room is a sanctuary of stillness. The only sounds are the ancient groans of the house settling into its foundation, the faint, distant hum of a world that has moved on without this space, and the whisper soft fall of more dust. It is the sound of forgetting. My own body is a landscape of neglect. A fine web, spun by a patient artist, connects one of my legs to the wall. My surface, which once reflected a boy's face, then a young man's, now offers only a clouded, distorted version of the room. I feel a deep coldness in my core, the kind that comes from not being touched, from not being used for your purpose. The tension in my strings has slackened over countless seasons, a slow metallic sigh of resignation. They still hold the potential for music, but it is a potential buried under layers of silence and sorrow. Sometimes, a tremor from a passing truck on the street will make a single string hum, a low, mournful vibration that dies almost as soon as it is born. It is a ghost of a note, a painful reminder of the symphony that once lived inside me. It is the echo of a promise, the one he made to me and to himself, the promise of a melody that was meant to change everything. That light, the way it strikes the closed fallboard is what does it. It's the same angle, the same soft, golden hue of a late autumn afternoon. It used to be his favorite time to work. He would say the light was the color of nostalgia, and it helped him find the notes that were hiding between the cracks of memory. The memory, when it comes, is not a gentle wave. It is a physical jolt, a violent shudder through my frame that makes my old strings resonate with a silent, discordant scream. Suddenly, I am not cold. I am alive with the frantic, electric energy of his hands. They are not just pressing my keys. They are pleading, demanding, confessing. I remember the weight of his forearms as he leaned into a powerful chord, the sweat from his brow dripping onto my black keys, the frantic rustle of sheet music covered in a chaotic scrawl of notes and corrections. He was a storm, and I was his sky. He poured everything into me, his frustration, a cascade of angry, dissonant clusters that made my frame ache, his joy, a series of light, dancing arpeggios that felt like laughter bubbling up from my belly. I remember his voice, a low murmur against my wood. Not yet, not quite. He spoke to me as if I were a collaborator, a confidant. It needs to feel like coming home after a long war, but you're not sure if you're the victor or the ghost. And then there was her voice, softer, a gentle counterpoint to his intensity. Leo, you haven't eaten. Come away from it for a while. I would feel the subtle shift in the room's atmosphere when she entered, the scent of her perfume, a light floral that was the opposite of his scent of coffee and obsessive focus. I remember the soft touch of her hand on his shoulder, a touch he would sometimes shrug off, lost in his world of sound. "This one, Anna," I heard him say, his voice thick with a terrifying sincerity. "This one is everything. It's the only thing that's real." The past was a constant vibration. Music was the room's natural state of being. Even in silence, there was the anticipation of sound, the hum of creative energy. My wood was always warm, always resonating with the aftermath of a chord or the promise of a new one. He would spend hours, days, chasing a single phrase, a progression that shimmered just beyond his grasp. I held his failures and his triumphs. I was the vessel for the melody he was birthing, the one he believed would finally say what words could not. Now, the silence is not an absence of sound. It is a presence. It is a heavy, suffocating thing that presses down on my lid, that seeps into my wood, that deadens my strings. The warmth is a distant memory, as abstract as the music itself. The contrast is a physical pain, a hollowness in my very structure. I was built to make noise, to fill a space with emotion. Now, my purpose is to be an anchor for the quiet, a monument to an unfinished sentence. The turning point was not a slow decline, it was a fracture. He was playing. It was late, the moon replacing the sun in the window. He had been at it for 3 days, fueled by something I could feel was both brilliant and destructive. The melody was finally there. It was breathtaking. It was the sound of that homecoming he'd described, full of sorrow and relief, beauty and pain. It soared, it wept, it raged. I gave him everything I had, my hammers striking the strings with perfect, heartbreaking clarity. He was reaching the crescendo, the final resolving statement of the piece. His hands flew across my keys, a blur of motion and intent, and then a wrong note. It wasn't a mistake, it was a collapse, a sudden, jarring dissonance. A cluster of keys in the low register struck not with the precision of a musician, but with the dead, clumsy weight of a falling object. His body slumped forward, his head and torso crashing onto me. The sound was horrific, a cacophony of wood and bone, and the final ugly chord of a life interrupted. My strings screamed in protest, a long, agonizing vibration that seemed to hang in the air for an eternity. For a moment, there was only that sound and the terrible, heavy pressure on my keys. Then, the silence that followed was unlike any I had ever known. It was not empty, it was absolute. It was the end. I felt the last, faint warmth leave his body. I heard the door burst open. I heard Anna's sharp, terrified intake of breath, followed by a wail that contained no music at all, a sound of pure, primal severance. That is the sound my silence is made of. I have accepted my new state of being. I am no longer an instrument of creation, but a vessel of preservation. My purpose is not to play new songs, but to hold the echo of an unfinished one. The dust is not a sign of neglect, but a shroud of honor. It protects the secret I keep. The silence is not emptiness, but reverence. I am a tombstone carved from mahogany and ivory, a memorial to potential. I am a piano. Humans believe they are the keepers of memory, but their memories fade, distort, and are colored by grief and time. They are unreliable narrators. An object, however, remembers with perfect, cold fidelity. We do not interpret, we absorb. We hold the truth in our very grain. They measure a life in years, in heartbeats, in accomplishments. I measure his life by the melody he left inside me, a perfect, incomplete thing. It is more real, more permanent than any memory they have of him. They remember a man. I remember his soul. The melody is safe with me.